these three, and of course Glaive. We've seen a couple of Glaive bans here and there, if not Glaive being picked up. Glaives have been really, really strong as well. I mean, no doubt in patch 2.5, Glaive actually had enough for his cooldown and for his energy usage of his abilities. But even then, Glaive is still proving to be quite a hero to be, dealing with. So I mean, because of his displacement abilities from Afterburn and what have you not, and the ability of him staying in the fight for so long just because of his ultimate and the lifesteal that comes up from his ultimate as well. So honestly, I'm really looking forward to see what these players can bring to the table. So yeah, I mean, we are just waiting for draft at this point in time, but then I just cannot contain the hype, that I'm trying to hold down since I'm a color caster. I cannot be too hyped, or I'll drown out my hype caster.
Job. You'll take my job the day you can keep up with the speaking speed that I go into.
All right, but
we'll have a rap battle after this.
Yeah, I mean, I could, but I'll probably go like, that thing is happening right now, and that thing is happening, that thing is happening, and that thing just died and ace. Right, so I mean, that's what I'm good for. But other than that, just these two teams alone, I'm sure the viewers are like really interested and really looking forward to the plays coming out from both of these teams. I heard draft is ready, so you may do the honors.
Okay, so with that, sorry to keep you all waiting because I'm sure you're eager to get into this, so I won't make you wait any longer. So without further ado, let's go into the draft.
The draft.
And we are here, and you talked about over expectations and kind of covered all the predictions of what we saw based on prior matches to what we might see in the ban phase. And it's actually an interest which we saw banned out earlier, I believe, by Artisans.
Yes, by Artisans.
And I'm not sure about it. Of course, Weapon Paladra still being a strong pick, but whether it's the ban you need, I mean, we've seen a lot of Rome-focused bans today as well for those first few bans. There's the Lyra ban coming out that we expected, and so it's not going to be a first pick Lyra, but if that's the case, will it be the first pick Baron, do you think?
Well, I think they might secure the Baron or the Lance. Okay, so the Baron carry is important because honestly, if you think about it, in the late game, really nothing could stand up to Baron's damage. Unless of course you're talking about mages who can burst Baron down, but then and Baron has to miss his basic attack, which is quite impossible to
go for the Catherine pickup, which you were talking about Baron being quite hard to burst down, and I think the counter to really taking down Baron is a good lot of CC. But the problem there is when you get into the late game and Baron has overdriven the jump jets, he is able to get away from some of that CC. But unless they have enough of that CC, and we might see a bit of a CC chained kind of team, they could really lock down this Baron, and I think that's where Infamous might be looking to secure the kills. But it's hard to say yet, as it's only the Catherine pickup right now. It could go for any kind of offensive team comp.
Yeah, but I mean, if you think about this, I mean, Catherine honestly isn't that much of a priority pick, only because of how squishy she is in the early game without and how she's squishy in the early game without her stacks. So I mean, there were changes made to her stacks now. For every time she stuns or silence, she gets 2 stacks. So it's easier to build up her stacks. But then again, in the early game, she's just not as strong, or rather not as tanky as the other roamers. So that is one thing to watch out for. I mean, Baron himself is a late game hero, but then if Impunity is able to actually pick out 2 early game aggressive heroes that can actually go in deep and hard on this Catherine and disallow Catherine from building any more stacks than she could possibly build, then of course Infamous would actually fall because of this Catherine pickup instead of that Lance.
Well, if we're going to see SNK on that Catherine, is a bit of a pain for SNK not wanting to go up against this Baron. And I'm sure a lot of players at this point in time, if you can't get Baron on your team, don't like to play up against Baron. I think that's fair enough to be said. But they're going to go, and this is what I was talking about, the opportunity for them to play that kind of offensive engaged team comp. They've gone for the Black Feather, so we're really trying to get some lockdown and stick to the enemy there. So how can they respond to this one on the side of Impunity?
Well, I mean, from the side of Impunity, I'm not surprised if they actually pick out the Lance first to secure that Lance, and
So there's no jungle Lance, but I don't think Infamous would go the Lance. That
Yeah,
would put them
definitely.
in a triple melee comp.
yeah, I mean, Lance would definitely not be picked out on Infamous, but then, okay, but you know, Lance aside, we are seeing an Arden to just better protect this Baron from Blackfeather from diving in deep. I mean, Arden's ultimate it's almost similar to that of Lara's Bright Bulwark. I mean, granted, it doesn't stare, but then the stun that it provides and the zoning out that it provides just from the gauntlet itself is quite valuable to a team if used well. So, you know, for the last pick, I'm not surprised if Impunity would go with that glaive just to peel further for Baron or even a weapon lance.
Yeah,
So they'll run a double weapon team, and I've seen that ran to a great extent as well. So, you know, or maybe even a jungle scarf, because, you know, Kerchus on this scarf is just incredible. We saw how he was building, and we saw how he positioned himself to the extent where, you know, it's quite hard to reach him, and especially with the peel coming out from Arden.
Alpha coming onto the fold, and that's not a bad choice, especially when you're going up against Blackfeather. I think that's a very valid pickup right there. But we'll have to see how it plays out. Of course, Alpha gonna have the help of Arden there with the Vanguard, and it's what I always like about Arden. When you can't have the Lyra pickup, I think Arden's quite a good pickup in terms of keeping if you have heroes on your team that like to dive in or need to dive in, I think it's a good pickup to do there because you have the Vanguard to really help get people out, and then later in the game, the zoning potential of the Gauntlet, and we've been seeing a few echoes being brought up on Arden's recently to get that double Gauntlet coming out, but it's kind of going to be a stun comp in some way, at least with the Catherine and Celeste pickup on the side of Infamous. So I think both teams drafting this one very well, and we'll have to see how this plays out, won't we? Who do you have your money on today?
If you're going to ask me that, I am actually liking the team comp coming out from the side of Impunity better. I mean, the only reason being because Alpha can dive into that of Celeste, and there is no one to peel for Celeste. Granted, you have your Catherine that can and has a very reliable stun, but that's about all you can do. And then you have Baron, who can also dive deep into your Celeste and then just be on top of her. And your Celeste really can't do anything. An overdriven jump jet can actually grant
a block
Baron immunity to stun as well. So there you have it. And then the zoning capability of this Arden. I mean, granted, we have a Blackfeather that can actually go through the walls of the gauntlet with no issues whatsoever. But even then, the zoning capability and making Blackfeather expend one of his charges just to get through the wall or get out of the wall is quite a valuable pickup on the side of Impunity as well.
Well, as we know, Uni and Spaghetti both able to play the lane and jungle. They might always put this Celeste in the jungle early to try get her those levels. But we'll have to see how that works out for them and what they decide to go with as the players load onto the Halcyon Fold. And this match for the first match of the finals, Split 1, Vainglory 8, Southeast Asia Summer Season is underway. And I guess if you're going for Impunity there, I have to put my money on Infamous. And, looking at Infamous, if they can really... it is what I predicted with putting Spaghetti first. At least the first rotation, perhaps, into the jungle. So they're going to go for those levels onto Celeste and then maybe move her back into the lane once she has the range. Hopefully they can hold on to that turret long enough, though, so Celeste has something to work with there, as we see Impunity actually playing an aggressive game here with the early minion candy up in lane.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a trade sign now for Impunity. I've been seeing a lot of minion candy pickup on the side of Impunity for no matter for whatever games they've been playing.
And it's kind of working. Uni actually having to be up close is either going to take damage from Death Q or take damage from those minions. But right now it's Spaghetti actually doing a lot of damage to Death Q. The auto attacks will be able to do it with the Heliogenesis, and that's First Blood being picked up. And SNK there with the stun able to lock down Alpha and stop them from getting onto Celeste. So very well played for them there to really pick up that early Q and kind of punish Impunity for that mispositioning as they tried to go up into the jungle. I was worried for Spaghetti, to be honest, as it is more of a 2v1 situation to start with.
Yeah, but I mean, even if you put Spaghetti in the jungle or Uni in the jungle, there's one thing for sure is that Alpha counters them, or rather, Alpha counters Spaghetti and checks Uni as well. So and as for DevQ, the mistake there was that granted you're a Baron, you have got that damage, but then your damage do not come up until maybe after, like, say, a heavy steal or something, because if you want the early game quote unquote damage. Whereas for now, when just sitting on 2 weapon blades, you're kind of, I would not say useless, but then your damage is just lackluster.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a late game kind of matchup that we're seeing come out, especially from the side of Impunity there. Infamous might have a bit more aggression into the early game just because they have the CC there, which opens up a window for, I guess, early game kills to go over and single targeting to be done by Infamous if they're able to team fight and put down the damage. But you see Spaghetti actually not doing too bad in this jungle to start off with, able to take that mid tree end over the Alpha right now. And you talked about Alpha being a counter to Celeste and a check to Black Feather, but I think that's not going to be as bad until Alpha can really start building up some items and some tankiness. And I mean, before we saw Baron just not be able to be put to much use at that point, and I think he'll really wait until he gets the Tension Bow and Sorrow Blade at least before he starts doing a bit more work.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Tension Bow, the Sorrow Blade is going to be picking up, the Baron's going to be picking up, would allow Baron to do a little more damage, or rather not a little more damage, but then would just give her that, give Baron that peak in damage. But then that Tension Bow is where it all comes in. I mean, the armor piercing that's provided on Tension Bow is just so valuable for Baron, and the burst damage as well every 6 seconds. So honestly, you say, I mean, Kerchows, I said Kerchows on this Alpha is a rather reliable pick, or rather a check against Uni and Spaghetti. But and
I'm just watching Kerchows now.
And I say that Kerchows is really, when I say that, it's because even without much items, Alpha can actually dish out quite a lot of damage, especially against that of squishies like Spaghetti on Celeste. And I mean, but I've seen a lot of Alphas actually wanting to get the Aftershock first, or the Aftershock Broken Myth first, and then go on to the the damage and whatnot. But then by the time you actually get those items, right, Celeste would have built up enough items, enough level. I mean, just looking at Celeste now, she's level 6. Celeste has got her ultimate.
First one to hit that. And you actually saw, it's interesting to see Spaghetti waiting around so long at Kerchow's backs, and that's good for 2 things. It's going to really continue to counter that Alpha, and as you said, Alpha wanting to go for that kind of Aftershock Broken Myth build is really going to slow down that and speed up Spaghetti getting there to that level 8 and just generally getting more items. They are going to go for that Eve of Harvest first, and we see the Fountain being picked up by SNK, so it might be Infamous looking for a team fight here as the Core Collapse goes down, followed up by the Merciless Pursuit, but they're trying to target Quarterbore, who's fairly tanky at the moment, and I'm not sure if they'll be able to find his DevQ actually coming up to the lane with the help of Kerchows, and they're going to defend this turret. Quarterbore able to get out of S1 just barely, at least for now. SNK going in low. It's going to be Kerchows going in with the Prime Directive, but not following up with any damage. DevQ trying to do what they can, but it looks like Infamous have a bit of control over this fight, especially with the members of Impunity at a bit lower health, but there isn't too much they can do in terms of securing kills right now. You've only got SNK there with the Merciless Pursuit, but I don't think that's enough, as we see Kerchows going to go over the wall, find Spaghetti, but Spaghetti able to pick up that tree ant, and they might get the kill onto Kerchows, who's going solo, but they have the help of Crystal Sentry, and Uni gonna find actually auto attack from Celeste, going to find the kill onto Arden, and that's what I love about playing Celeste. The auto attacks are so slow, and it's another reason to put her in the jungle. But before we say that, DevQ doing his best to stay alive under this turret, might be able to trade out a kill onto SNK. SNK going low, but doesn't try quite get killed, and SNK doesn't have the fountain up just yet, but not going down there is a good way to not trade out the kills right now. And Spaghetti low on energy, uses the Solar Storm, but gets Kirchhoff's down, and that might be what they need. But Infamous just going to back out of this one, and SNK gets hit by the Prime Directive, might go down, but Kirchhoff's not there with the second attack that they needed to do so. And so back onto Spaghetti, and why putting a Celeste into jungle actually works is, is a bit slow. Your attacks are a bit slower and it is a bit harder, but saying it's pleasing to see your slow-moving auto attacks just take someone out who has just that much more health left, and they do a fair amount of damage. I guess how slow they are.
And wow, that was a really extended fight. I mean, both teams were relentless, especially that of Infamous. They just wanted kill after kill, and in fact, just look at the turret damage. Impunity has got the turret down to half health, and that has quite been a trademark of Impunity, don't you think? For all the games that I've witnessed so far and casting for so far, Impunity always
Infamous
was
getting the turret down to half health.
No, and not Infamous getting the turret down to half health, but it's more like Impunity's tower is always close to being down, and then that is when, and that is when Baron start getting his items. I mean, just look at it. Baron now already has got his Sorrow Blade, and hopefully building towards. I think the turret's gonna go down. I mean, Spaghetti's already at level 8.
Ooh, and DefQ gonna jump in there with the jump jets and use his Iron Cannon on Spaghetti. It's good placement, but it's not gonna find the kill because Solar Storm's gonna come out first, but Kirchhoff's gonna be the one to stick to Celeste able to find the kill. It's gonna be Stormguard to reflect that Termination Protocol damage, as it's gonna be Uni with the stacks on Kirchhoff's just sticking to Van Bezra Rose Trail. They might be able to get the kill, but Kirchhoff's actually going back in again, able to find the kill onto SNK, and then it's now gonna be Uni looking for a kill as to decide between God of War and Kirchhoff, but goes for Kirchhoff's, maybe the bad choice to take out enemy jungler, and opens up a window for Uni to still jump onto Cordova because they have vision in that brush, but it's going to be DefQ returning to this lane once again. We're seeing another drawn out fight, but I don't think DefQ going to jump into this one just yet because he wants to defend this turret right now. But you've got the help of Spaghetti there, and it might be Infamous pushing this one in. Might even take it. Look at the damage coming out from Celeste already just with that Eve of Harvest and passing shot along with the Heavy Prison. You can really see where Spaghetti now hitting that level 8 is going to have a bit more of a power spike.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that 8 for Celeste, it's just so important because of the extended range and heliogenesis. And so, that is one thing. I really think that DefQ on this Baron should just lay back and relax a little and just turtle up to just farm. I mean, you're sitting at 69 CS, and then we have Uni on this Black Feather sitting at 83 CS. And the items wise, you have your Sorrow Blade, and then you just picked up your Tension Bow, whereas Uni has got an infusion in his pocket, one Breaking Point, and one Serpent's Mask, a Reflex block as well. I don't think at this point in time Impunity should just go for full damage without any sort of defense, and they actually have to start buying defense right now. I mean, they have to start respecting the fact that Infamous is a quality opponent, per se. Oh, another fight is happening.
It looks like Uni going to be jumping in there, getting a few stacks up onto multiple opponents, but Uni's not the one to look out for. Spaghetti actually landing the damage and using the Solar Storm, not able to confirm a kill yet, but you can see the Heliogenesis going down onto Alpha, and it's going to be Uni to dive in under the turret to confirm that kill, and it's going to be Fountain being used on the side of Infamous to keep Uni alive. And Cordova again stunned out as he goes in for the corner, and Uni just jumping around at the moment, picking up kill to kill, and meanwhile Spaghetti being the one to deal out the damage and using the amazing use of the core collapse, is able to pick up the final kill for that ace. But you can see the synergy between Infamous right now is amazing. It's going to be SNK falling, but I think to get the ace and to get the turret, SNK is a small price to pay.
SNK is definitely a smaller price to pay.
Just looking over at SNK's build, SNK being quite offensive right now, and I talked about in the draft phase that they've got an offensive team comp, but they're building offensively as well, with SNK having that aftershock. And maybe, what do you think that's going into? Maybe a clockwork?
Definitely a clockwork. I mean, with your stun up so often and your silence as well, and what more is that your Stormguard being up so often, you can actually just counter the damage coming up from Baron as well. So I mean, it's SNK on this Catherine. It's quite difficult and it's quite situational to actually build a full cooldown Catherine. because of how
Looks like
expensive Clockwork
another
has been.
fight's going to break out, so just hold on to that for another second as Spaghetti goes low, but the Eve's going to keep him alive. Low right now, but the Termination Protocol explosion is going to pick up a kill onto them. Kirchhoff's probably going to get the reboot here, and they do, but only for a second. But now we can find SNK with that Prime Directive, and it's going to be Uni once again here to clean up with the kill, sitting at 5-0, make that a 6-0 to 3. And looking over at the overall scoreboard of this team, it's 11 kills to the side of Infamous, going over to 4 kills. And then looking at the gold lead, they've hit that 5k gold lead already at 28.5k to the 22.9 of Impunity. But I don't think you should count Impunity out yet, because we talked about this Baron and how strong he gets to the late game. But do you think maybe he needs a bit of defense, or he's playing it right by having the item there and building defense would just hold him back?
Yeah, I personally think so as well. I mean, if a Baron does actually build defense so early in, I mean, it's still quite early for Baron to fully showcase the damage that he can unleash upon his opponents. But then if you're going to start building defense now, you're just going to push a late game into a later game, and that's not good for anybody. I mean, especially not for Impunity, at least. I mean, just looking at builds right now, it's quite obvious.
Oh, wow. Celeste just hitting the level 12 now. Meanwhile, Kirchhoff's Def Q back at level 10. That's gotta hurt.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at item builds right now, we have Black Feather sitting on like 4 full third tier items, and then you have Alpha still two tier 3 item, two tier 3 item, and then the third level difference is one thing, but then the gold difference is another as well. And you can tell that Uni is just putting out so much damage, much more than that Impunity can actually put out.
Yeah, and Uni being really sustainable right now by picking up that Serpent's Mask and Poison Shiv. Yeah, Poison Shiv is really going to help out as he dives in there and picks up a kill onto Arden. Alongside, you see Spaghetti on the backline, who's doing a lot of damage, but almost gets caught out by the Termination Protocol. It's not going to be quite. It's the triple kill for Uni, and you were just talking about how much of a core component of the team of Infamous Uni has been. But I'd say as a whole, Infamous just playing that one so strong. And, by getting Spaghetti ahead is just the fact that Uni was also able to get ahead through those team fights, I think worked out very well for them, and Infamous playing that one with great synergy. Right there, you see the Rockets trailing off over to Red Base, a bit of an emo coming through by DefQ as well. But, end of the game, GG, well played, and it really could have gone either way with that Baron pickup being let through, but they really weren't able to get the kills they needed in the early game. And you can really look at Uni's build there and see how his 903, even though SNK went that offensive Catherine, it worked out for them because that's what they needed to shut down the Baron. And we talked about this, how do you counter the Baron and how do you shut him down? And so in return to that, even Spaghetti picking up the Eve first, their team was very focused on health regen items and staying alive through that fight, because they know that they only had the fountain to rely on by SNK. So they kind of pushed through with the offensive pressure and just well played and good team synergy there.
Yeah, but one more thing that I have to point out is as well that, Baron just couldn't actually get into the late game as soon as possible. And then Infamous just understanding Baron's early game weakness and then capitalize on it, and that is what they got them so far. I mean, just think about this. Whenever they actually try to engage from the side of Impunity, at least, yeah, and then Infamous will always be ready for them because they understand that Baron do not have the damage at least like 6 minutes in or 8 minutes in, and that is why. And it's just good game and well played to the side of Infamous for capitalizing on Baron's early game weakness.
Yeah, and with that, I couldn't even say based on that draft, to be honest, they both dropped. And to be honest, even you looked over at the start of the match saying Impunity have got this with the Baron pickup, but it definitely relied too much around that Baron because Alpha not able to do the work needed and really take down Celeste. You saw it's few team fights where she is able to, and it is really good positioning by Alpha getting in there and using the Termination Protocol at the right time to really get stuck to Celeste and kind of stick for ultimate to them. So yeah, it's really going into this next draft phase. I can't really put anything on it, but maybe we'll see a Black Feather or Celeste ban.
Yeah, I mean, Celeste is not the biggest worry at this point in time. Lyra is still priority. Yep. We can actually talk about this while draft is running. So.
Well, I'm sure the viewers would want that as much as the players, because we are in the finals now, going into the second match. And as you said, the draft is ready, so we won't keep you waiting any longer. So without further ado, let's go into the draft.
The draft
Well, awesome.
is-
I mean, as we actually go into the draft at this point in time, I'm actually quite interested to see what will be coming out. Like you said, maybe they'll target ban the Celeste or the Black Feather, but then you have to understand that Infamous has always been known to be really versatile with their team comps and versatile with their hero. Their hero pool is just so wide. I mean, the first ban coming out is always quite an interesting ban, because from Team Artisan, not Team Artisan, but from Team Impunity, we've been seeing a lot of Idris ban, and I think that is really a targeted ban. So if we see a Castro ban, I'm not surprised if the other side, the side of Impunity, actually bans out Lyra. If not, then they'll stick with the target ban of Idris. Because, I mean, both of these teams are almost on equal grounds in terms of play and technical skills. I mean, letting Lyra go to either side would be, disastrous for the other team. I mean, we saw Quattrevor on Lyra, and we saw how well he was playing Lyra as well. So it was quite a clever ban, that Lyra ban. I'm not sure, actually. They are sticking to that Catherine, these Infamous people. I mean, SNK on that Catherine was just OP, and that Catherine was the core, that Catherine was the core of the team comp just now as well. Without that Catherine, it's quite impossible to actually unleash the damage and onto Impunity in the previous game. Only reason I'm saying that was because without the lockdown and the silence from Catherine, it's quite difficult for Uni or even Spaghetti to dish out all that damage. So we see a Sky pickup, and I understand this pickup. I mean, we see a Sky pickup, and then I totally understand the Sky pickup coming out from the side of Impunity, and that is to actually get into the backlines. Banning out the Baron is quite a clever ban, and from the side of Infamous, I really do hope that they would ban out a chaser, like a glaive or someone who can actually dive deep. I don't think they would actually remove the Black Feather at all. So I'm not too sure. I mean, draft between these two teams, they're just so unpredictable, because they might actually go for targeted bans like that we see from Castro, or they can just go for a ban, that it's a meta pick, but then all the meta picks has been kind of banned out except for that of Lance. But then there you go, Lance, and I'm not surprised that Lance banned out because of Quattrevor and how good he is on Lance. So penalizing them, we have Lance banned out, we have Lyra banned out, and then we have Catherine picked. The other more reliable roamer or tank would be that of Arden. But even then, we saw how Arden was played last game, and then it wasn't played to great success as well. It was because Arden just liked the pill. I mean, granted, you can have
to be Arden.
You have a lot of zoning capabilities, but then you just do not have the pill. Oh, I'm so sorry, I couldn't hear you at all.
It's going to be Arden unless they do something weird. So yeah, the reason being they won't pick up a Finn, because Finn would not be able to keep up with the mobility of Sky, and they could have gone for maybe, and when I said something weird, I mean like a roam glaive, which isn't technically weird, but the general roamers is what I look at being Lyra, Arden, Lance, Catherine, and Finn. So I mean, you get those roamers in there as well, but I think in this case the Arden pickup, you said before in previous matches, wasn't as good, but I think it really is the right pick here to go for that Arden to really help Sky get out of any tough situations, and whoever their laner might be, which we'll have to wait and see, as the Black Feather is picked up once again, correct?
Once again.
So they have a fairly similar team comp going on for them here, except without the Celeste. This time they have the Idris, and please tell me it's the CP Idris.
Oh, I think the CP Black Feather is more reliable than the CP Idris.
Of course
honestly,
it is.
I mean, if you
I
think
don't
about
want
it,
logic. I want what I want, and
Yeah,
but
definitely.
I'm not going to go for that team because you know which team I have to cheer for no matter what.
Yeah, because of that Sky. So I understand which team you're gonna go
Oh,
for,
and
that'll
there's
be
the
Impunity.
Glaive that was kind of looked at and maybe being a roam pick for the side of Impunity, but this time looking like a weapon-powered jungle for them, and they've got what are they going to do about this? Are they going to put Sky in the lane as CP? Sky struggles in that sense unless you pick up a weapon blade, but still struggles at last hitting, I believe, and a lot of her abilities are blocked by the minions saying
Yeah, I think
for barrage, and then you're not quite able to land it through to them. I mean, you can use the minions to your advantage to jump behind the enemy with target lock and all that. So it's not a bad idea putting Sky up there, but what do you think out of Sky and Glaive, who you think is going to be in the lane for the side of Impunity?
I think Glaive would actually be on lane, but then in lane going up against an Idris would be kind of a headache for the side of Impunity, and especially when you have a Catherine that can just come out of the brushes and just stun you over and over again. And even though you have an Arden, but then Arden has only got so much that he can do to protect you from the poke that's going to be coming out from Idris and that of Celeste. Not Celeste, sorry, Catherine. So, at the end of the day, we have Black Feather who does really well against that Sky as well. So, even if I would go for Sky, but then the analyst in me just says Infamous Teamcom is just a little better, and they drafted a little better.
Well, I don't care because Impunity has Sky, and they're gonna win.
Okay, and DevQ is actually going to lane.
Is the carry for the side of Impunity, and we see that weapon blade pickup I talked about needing to help with last hitting in lane, because otherwise it's a bit tough to get by in lane as CP. You might not get to your items as quickly as if you were in jungle. You can really rush that Frostburn, but in this situation you see DevQ actually going into the backs with Kirchhoffs, and they're actually giving a bit of farm over to DevQ, I believe, here at the start to kind of help out with that, because Kirchhoff's mostly going to be relied on for the afterburn coming in with the ganks, and it's definitely another good reason to have the Glaive in the jungle, because if you've got Glaive in the lane, he's a bit easier to predict when he's going to go in for this afterburn. So hopefully Impunity can play this one well, and wish the same for Infamous. I just want to see a good game here, and possibly a third match.
Yeah, I mean, a third match is always welcome for us casters. I mean, we enjoy casting all these games as well. Oh, so they might actually be contesting for the Centurion right now.
Yeah, well, whoever gets it, gets it.
Yeah,
That's my call on it. It's going to be Spaghetti taking that. But as you said, third matches, especially here when we're in the finals, we're in the second matchup for you guys just joining us now. The second matchup between Impunity and Infamous. It's the finals for summer season VG 8 in Southeast Asia. Split one. That's a mouthful. But
that is a mouthful. But then you know that there was this period of time whenever they have a third match, they remove draft from it all. That was actually the time that I really liked.
Because the third match was just this wild card.
Yes, it is, and it was so fun to watch. And I wasn't casting at a point in time, but it was so fun to watch. I mean, because they just bring out the best comp that they've been practicing for a while. So it's just fun to watch. But anyways, back to this game. We have DevQ in lane. Like you said though, DevQ, you can actually target lock the minions to actually get to the back of say Spaghetti, but then you can't forget that Shroud Stab is a thing for Idris, and then they can just escape from whatever you can.
Oh, especially Shimmer Strike when we go late into this game, but at the moment it's going to be Uni going low after trying to take that Trian, and he might suffer for it because First Blood going to go over to Impunity, but Kirchhoff's going to be the next one to fall to Spaghetti. Spaghetti going to be low, but Sky easily able to pick up that kill. It's going to be a double kill actually going over to Quarterboard because Roams need kills, and SNK might go down for the triple. Quarterboard getting greedy, but he's going to give it away to DevQ knowing he can't take up too much of a turret, but a good first fight for Impunity, I'd say, being able to go 1-3 in that initial team fight.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that mistake there was that Spaghetti actually rotated down slower than the opposing team, and that they're already there poising for this fight that's happening, especially with the excellent afterburn coming up from Kirchhoffs as well on this glaive to disposition Uni as well. And for a Black Feather, a CP Black Feather, you really want to get your level 8 as well. You're quite similar to that of Celeste, because when you get your level 8 and then you're on point, would actually have a increased distance.
Kirchhoff's actually able to steal it again, or I'm not sure if he got it last time, but at least this time able to steal it sneakily. It's even with Catherine and Spaghetti rotating down there, not able to stop that. Impunity starting to get a bit of a gold lead here, as we see 9.4k on the side of Impunity over to 8.4. So just a small lead, but I think any lead matters in the first 4 minutes, and at this point it really comes down to what kills they're going to get and what objectives they're going to get from those.
Yeah, but I think personally, like with both of these team comps, it is mostly it'll go down to the team fight, because unlike previous game where they actually have a Celeste who can poke from afar and then just damage the opposing Impunity from afar. This game, it's a lot of melee heroes. I mean, it's just 3 melee heroes on the side of say
Infamous. But
Infamous.
I don't know, Spaghetti on that Idris, it's kind of considered range with the ability there, but I understand what you mean. Even if you went CP, then he could be range. Why didn't you go CP, Spaghetti, huh? Why not? I'm just wanting to see CP Idris one day in the VGA, but I think it's just that I play against scrubs and they don't build shield, so we see Glaive picking up his Sorrow Blade there and the Fountain being picked up by Cordovar. So SNK actually completely focusing on that Fountain, got it a bit earlier than Cordovar, so it's not going to matter too much, as not too many team fights have been breaking out here. And you did talk about it's going to be how the team fights go. I think both teams kind of playing this one carefully as well. It looks like so far.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, 3 kills so early into the game and then 1 return kill. It's gonna make the teams play more like carefully and respect that whatever heroes or the comments coming on the team is much stronger than them per se. But then again, like I said earlier on, the team comps coming up from the side of Infamous, it really boils down to the team fight, because of how if the more strategic you are with the ulti of who is that? Idris, and the better chance you actually have for winning a team fight. I mean, if you think about this, we have Kirchhoffs on this glaive, but the glaive can't really do anything to Spaghetti or even Uni in the late game, whereas you have Catherine, who is just going to get tanky and tanky as time goes by if she abuses her merciless pursuit. And then you have Death Q.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, granted, I mean, you have Death Q, who can actually put out a lot of damage with your forward barrage, but even then, would it be enough in an extended team fight? And that is really just the question, because if they would actually go in and target you first, then you are really deep useless for the entirety of the team fight, and then they can just clear up.
Looks like there might be a contest around here over in their gold mine, as Infamous actually stymie that one and managing to Impunity managing to back them off from that. And I was just thinking about SNK, you're talking about needs to abuse that merciless pursuit if they want to be tankier, but they just spent the last minute sitting in the brush, not really going out and taking those trades for the stacks, which is a bit of a problem for them. But in saying that, I think you're right that Infamous do have a good team comp built up for them, because even if Glaive jumps in onto Idris or Black Feather, those are both heroes who have a good escape. Idris with the Shimmer Step, I believe, Shroud. The Shroud Step, able to get out of that one. Oh no, I was thinking about Shimmer Strike, but ultimate.
Okay.
I'm confused between the two of them there, but yeah, Idris with his ultimate, the Shimmer Shroud.
Shimmer Strike.
Yes, the Shimmer Strike, able to either jump onto an ally or enemy and become invulnerable. It does have that window to not get killed, even if he gets jumped on by the Afterburn. And Black Feather likewise with a Rose Offensive to just get out of any situation. So, you know, it's going to be tough for Impunity to lock down kills, but I think it's similar in the sense that Cordova's there with the Vanguard for the side of Impunity. But if any team has a stronger engage, I'd have to go with Infamous.
Yep, definitely. I mean, you know, you have Black Feather, and I mean, Black Feather, Crystal Black Feather especially, do not actually have the ability to hard engage, but then, you know, on point is used as more of a poke than, say, to hard engage or build stacks per se. Because, I mean, honestly, CP Black Feather, if you're going too deep without them being like at like a 3/4 health, you can't really do much damage.
It's going to be Turf Drops going in with the Afterburn and then Death from above, trying to separate Uni, but Uni just going to be up to Rose Offensive through that. They're going to manage to find the kill onto SNK with the 4 Barrage Alphabet Soul Blade. And actually, we're going for the Clockwork second onto Def Q. That's an interesting pickup. Impunity not going for any more. They're just going to slowly continue to take the lead. Only in kills, though. If we look at gold, it's 19.8 over to 20k. So actually, Infamous slightly ahead, but I'm sure that can change within just a second and a few jungle camps being taken. But that Clockwork pickup second on Def Q, how do you feel about that?
I personally think I'm not sure. I mean, I have seen. Oh, I'm lagging really badly, but
it looks like a fight's breaking out as Kirchhoff's once again hitting Uni back in, but you see this struggle they kind of have with securing kills as they're not able to find the kill onto Uni, and Uni able to back out there. It's really, it's going to be tough for Impunity. They generally have the team aggression when going into these fights, but they're just not able to find the kills. I'm waiting for Infamous to actually turn around with the engagement themselves, but maybe they're just trying to get a bit more built up on items, you know, get Uni a bit more tankier. As you said, that CP Black Feather can do the damage, but he needs to stay alive when he goes in, and I think it's kind of similar for Idris. But we now see the team of Infamous going to take the first tower away from Impunity, and there's no one to actually catch them out for that and punish them for that. So good objective play on the side of Infamous.
Yeah, but there's one thing that's for sure. I mean, for all the team fights we witness, if Uni do actually jump in, he just cannot do the damage needed to take anybody down.
I think with the Shatter Glass, as long as you get the stacks up and go in with the on point, followed by the, if you go in with the, God, I cannot do abilities today.
Okay, if you go in with the Rose Offensive,
Feint of Heart. The
Feint of Heart, okay.
The Feint of Heart going to get you the stacks first, and then you're able to poke them down with the on point is my thinking there. I mean, I don't play too much Black Femmer stuff, but that's to my understanding. And that's when it comes back to talking about understanding of heroes, and Sky, I definitely play a lot of. Going back, Clockwork second, it could be something to do with, you know, being in this lane and having to have this sustain into lane, I believe, as well as your abilities. Just being up a bit more, going to give you a bit more agility to go around the team fights, as we see one break out right now, and Death from Above going to be used. Both these teams really not engaging hard. They're kind of pushing this one towards the late game.
They are, and I understand why. Because, I mean, we see Uni, okay, for a Crystal Black Feather, you're unlike that of a Weapon Black Feather. You can't really just jump in with a Feint of Heart and then try to burst someone down, because your bursts do not quite work that way. You try to use your Execute to actually burst a person down, but then in order to build up your stacks, you actually need to on-point them. So that is one thing that's different from a Weapon Black Feather to a Crystal Black Feather, and they are played really differently as well. And that's why you keep seeing Uni just doing their on point and just poking and poking and poking. But your poke would not do a lot of damage. I mean, and there's a cooldown to it as well. So unless SNK could actually go in for a hard engage, yeah, stunning Arden out of a gauntlet or stunning a main carry, and then hopefully Spaghetti can actually go in deep as well, just eliminating that Sky, because that Sky is really a threat to them, because she's the only one with the reliable range in team that's stopping them and deterring the side of Infamous from engaging.
Yeah, and I think it's really going to down to this Kraken once Kraken's up on the fold. You see that Infamous have done a good job for themselves in terms of objective play that I mentioned before, and you see now able to pick up that gold mine, and then Blackfeather now with the broken myth, so he's going to be a bit better in extended fights if he can stay alive long enough. And there's an Echo coming out once again by SNK, and Echo being a popular item at the moment, but Vanguard going to go down, and Kerchuk going to be able to afterburn them back into the gauntlet, and that's going to be an easy kill pickup for the side of Impunity. Well played there, but they're not done just yet as Sky goes in, tries to get the kill onto Catherine, and it's going to be Kerchuk's going deep onto Uni, but Uni able to turn around from that one and kind of push them away here. They're looking for a Torres. Uni looking for a kill. He might get greedy as he goes in, and he gets taken out by Sky with a 4 barrage. Well played there, using the Surrey Strike to get around the minions and make their way over to Blackfeather. Blackfeather had a Rose offensive up, but did not use it. I think thinking that the minions would block out enough of it. And now we see some engagement going down, finally, and Impunity able to turn this one back around and hopefully take some more objectives in turn.
Yeah, but like said, Blackfeather do not actually have the alternating current to actually do the sustained damage, and what, you know, the build is basically Shattered Glass and Broken Myth. Blackfeather is trying to poke them down like that of a mage, basically a melee mage if you must. So you know, I'm not too sure. I'm not too sure of what is going to come up from this. But you know, Infamous is actually just losing the fights right now. But because Uni just is not poking hard enough, not poking well enough per se.
Sky picking up this Shatter Glass, going big or going home, and it's a good play. It's similar to when you have the team by having the Arden there for the being able to play a bit more aggressively in your build. And I think it's also the team overall really wanting to funnel their money into this Sky on DefQ playing Sky right now, as you see the farm difference at Sky 182 over to 158. It makes a fair difference for the fair bit of farm that's in between the two of them, because you now see, I thought we weren't having a pause
is there
today.
A pause? Okay.
Thank God it did not crash.
Yes, I was...
Because there are no pauses for today, just to let you guys know, because of the technical difficulties we had yesterday, and we do apologize, but we figured out the issue, and due to that, we're not able to pause today. And luckily, I would have been like, we're 15 minutes in, and Impunity playing this one so well, and you can see the difference by Sky having the Frostburn, Shatter, Clockwork, and Broken Myth, and no defense, just going for the boots. And that's why I love this real Glass Cannon Sky. You see something similar on Spaghetti, but Spaghetti having the Aegis instead of a instead of a 4th attack item. And yeah, that's really the difference there. Also Spaghetti with a tension bow, it might fall off slightly, but in this scenario against a DefQ, against Sky, who's built rather Glass Cannon, as long as Cortivore can't get to them with the Vanguard, it's not even a bad item to keep on you, because Spaghetti will be able to still do a fair bit of damage to DefQ if they get caught out.
I mean, Spaghetti is doing DefQ is doing a lot of damage on SNK, and SNK is the roamer of the team. I'm just looking at the builds, just going over the builds again. Like you said, Sky is just going full Glass Cannon, and then on the side of Spaghetti, he's going full Glass Cannon as well, but I don't know, except for the Aegis. What I was saying, like in all the team fights so far, is that, you know, the side of Impunity, Infamous is just so afraid of engagement, and also the side of Impunity, like I said in the previous game, yeah, Impunity needed like to peel for their main carry, and then they actually have it. They do actually have it now with a glaive that can peel, and then, you know, Quartervore, they can actually peel as well. So and zone out enemies. So, you know, I think, like I said earlier on, I like draft coming up from the side of Infamous. Like I really do. And I understand their concept as well. I mean, they can just go in, and then they have so many abilities that would actually cause the abilities coming out from the side of Impunity to be useless. Like said, Shimmer Strike, and then we have Rose Offensive on Blackfeather as well. And then if SNK can actually lock down just one single carry, or just stun Quartervore off the gauntlet, you know, it'll prove a lot for their team. But then, unfortunately, we're not seeing SNK play as aggressive as, you know, he was in the previous game.
Yeah, and I think maybe for SNK, especially with that Echo pickup, is going to be looking for those blast tremors to really silence the whole team and keep them silenced for the duration of the fight, so Idris can go in alongside Black Feather and just deal the damage, which they might look for here as the team fight breaks out, and it's going to be them actually backing off, and as you said, Infamous not really having the confidence this match to really go in there. And
Yeah,
one more thing, just before we
Yeah.
go over, is going to be that DefQ, surprisingly, even though going Glass Cannon, you know, not having an Eve at all. There's no lifesteal there. I mean, Spaghetti has a reason to go somewhat Glass Cannon, although having the Eve, you do have the Poison Shiv. That's going to help you with a bit of lifesteal as well as stopping the enemy from healing. So maybe that is another reason for... I just thought about it after saying it. That could be why DefQ was like, okay, I'm not going to bother with the Eve because of that. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but I do know what's going on now is Glaive going to go in with the Afterburn. It's going to be SNK getting caught out by the death from above. Gauntlet goes down as well, but isn't needed. It's just for zoning there. Spaghetti already on the run, does not have the power on his own to fight this one, and is basically going to have to give over the Kraken to the side of Impunity now. So it really was... Infamous needed to make a fight happen, and they needed to be the aggressors, but it's looking tough for them now. It really is.
Oh, Spaghetti might be caught out right now. No, but Shroud stab is OP and he managed to run away. Okay, but you know what I was saying so far? What I was seeing so far is that Spaghetti is almost not at all in any of the team fights. I mean, just look at the KDA. Yeah, granted, he's 1-2. He's been caught out 2 times, a few times, but then he's almost as if he's not in the team fights at all. I mean, from the start of the game to the end, he's been chakramming, and then he's almost afraid. It is almost as if he's afraid of going in. But then you see Uni, who is the mage, quote unquote, of the team, and yet Uni is just going in really deep without putting up having his stacks up at all. So, this is something that's worrying me. I mean, if Spaghetti do not have the confidence as a carry to go in deep, then it would actually sacrifice the other carries as well. And, maybe he's playing really, really safe, but then, there is a time to play safe, and there is also a time to actually be aggressive. And they've got so many opportunities, and they just give it all up.
It's so interesting to see here because they've really boosted Sky into the late game. Sky so quickly, and Sky, oh my, wow. Sky is going to go no defense the whole game, and I mean, why not if they can continue to play like this? But Team 5 might break out as we see Spaghetti dash forward, trying to go onto Cordobo, but Cordobo now going to turn around with the Gauntlet, does stun up Black Feather, and it's going to be the Afterburn. There's the double Gauntlet from the Echo coming out, and it might be Glaive going down for once, but no one is checking Sky, and Sky's just going to go in with a triple kill, and this is what I was talking about there. They can continue playing like that because Sky just dealing so much damage, but I was looking before that fight, Kirchhoff's even able to deal a lot of damage out because there's no armor defense. We're just so focused on the Sky, but it's too late and too far gone for them to really do anything against that, and it just kind of opens up Kirchhoff's also being powerful without many items because they don't have the defense to deal with them. And this might be the game here as they're moving on to the last turret. They only have 1 minion left, but it's going to be Uni coming up in just a second. They don't go for it. They're going for the safer play. They're going to back out for now. They do respect Infamous and don't want to throw away the lead that they worked so hard for.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite interesting to see, actually, that, of how quad, or rather the side of Impunity is playing, because if you think about this, it's quite a reminiscence of how they did in VGC previous 2 seasons ago, where they actually did not build defense at all, and that has been the infamous play style of Infamous, that no defense is needed, it's just positioning, and they are doing really well. I mean, look at just look at DefQ, yeah, 5 offensive item, and then you have boots, and that's about it. And then you have on the side of Spaghetti, yes, you have 1 Aegis, but then that's almost counted as no defense as well. And then you have Uni, that's only the one that's building true defense, and then SNK, not much as well. So it's quite impressive to see how their play styles are carrying forward even though they're not in the same team.
Yeah, well, that's why I think both these teams having a similar playstyle, liking to play that kind of situation. One of them's obviously going to end up on the back foot if you both try to play the same style there, and it's definitely Infamous right now who aren't able to play as confident as they like to, but Kirchhoff's going low. That might be their chance. SNK with the second with the second blast trimmer there, but that's going to be the first gauntlet used by Quarterboy. There's going to be the fountain used by Quarterboy as well. I don't know why I swapped there, but it looks like the Sky going to be able to pick up Catherine, and Quarterboy going into a duel with Uni and picks up the kill on his own. It's just going to be Spaghetti trying to survive here. I think game that medic camp maybe wanting to look for a way to steal away this Kraken, because they cannot give another one over. They only have one Crystal left, but you see him go in with the Shimmer Strike, and he's able to pick up a kill onto Sky. This is Spaghetti turning this one around on his own. This is the chance he needed without Glaive there to really knock him around and stun him up. He might be able to pick up a kill. He uses boots, he uses the chakram, but he doesn't find the damage. He's now in a dangerous situation himself, going up against Arden and for Crystal Sentry. He might have to back out this one. Chakram getting low, he gets hit by the turret. There's a scout trap. What's he gonna do? There's the gauntlets, and 1v1 between Quarterboy and Spaghetti. Who's gonna take the kill? It's so close. And it's Spaghetti. He goes in with an amazing step and been able to pick up a kill, but Kirchhoff's gonna come along and punish you for that. Kirchhoff's bad kitty. You really disrespected the 1v1 duels. Bad kitty. But, I mean, Kirchhoff's just trying to make sure that Spaghetti doesn't get too ahead of himself here, as we just saw the first signs of Infamous really starting to come back.
I mean, like I said earlier on, my point I was making earlier on and throughout the game actually was that Spaghetti was almost missing in all those fights, and we saw the amount of damage that Spaghetti can come out as long as Spaghetti is involved. I mean, we have Uni in front. They're just dishing out all the damage that Uni can possibly dish out as a CP Black Feather with his on point of Fate of Heart, all roles offensive. But then, you know, we really need Spaghetti to actually step up to the plate. Oh, they actually took a Kraken. And you know, I'm quite interested to see how they actually would push this Kraken instead of you know, just letting Kraken go, because
yeah, I feel like it might be gold just going over to Impunity at this point, especially with how built up they are. And I must say it's the right choice to take Kraken then, because you don't want to give Kraken over to the side of Impunity. So they're just going to be able to poke along and do some damage, but they need to be careful of Kirchhoff's maybe turning around and trying to hit Uni on the turret, which is the decision he went for. And there's amazing gauntlet out, stun them out. Spaghetti jumps right into that, but Spaghetti now moving on to Kirchhoff's, does use the Shimmer Strike to get on top of him, and they're going to take that turret, and Kraken is going to go down, so it's about 300 gold for 500, so not the biggest loss. And I think for Infamous that is the right play to do, to make slow progress if any.
Yeah, definitely. At this point in time, Infamous cannot hard engage anymore. It's just they just need to capitalize on every little mistake that is going to be coming out from Impunity, because as the game gets drawn out, we are bound to tire ourselves out and then make small mistakes here and there, and it's really up to the team that can actually fully capitalize on these mistakes. And what that was Uni and SNK actually managed to get the Kraken and then slowly push that turret down. Granted, they actually TP'd back, lazy back to see if because they're afraid of a base rush as well. So, you know, it makes sense for their play, now that I think about it. But then honestly, Spaghetti can actually do a lot of damage. Like, I really want to see if this goes in a third game, there will be 1-on-1. I mean, it was Infamous that actually got the first game as well, so they have what it takes to go up against Impunity. Oh, a fight is just breaking out right now.
Yeah, and it looks like a defensive gauntlet is going to be used then. Impunity just going to back off from that. Echo is used though. I think Quarterboy, and this is one of the mistakes you could talk about, unless Quarterboy hoping to back off from a team fight for another 30 seconds or 35 seconds, and then he'll have the two gauntlets up for that fight. But it could be Quarterboy maybe just not being ready with the Echo, because I know Echo is kind of a tough item. You need to be it's always in the back of your mind that you need to use it when you want that ability to come up second, because if you leave it too long, then you're not able to do so. But it looks like they have been able to drag this out long enough, only 10 seconds until the next gauntlet's up, and it looks like Impunity want to fight this one. You see them moving forwards now, and it's going to be Kirchhoff's going in with his stun onto SNK, but no engagement just yet. Both teams being so respectful of each other in this upcoming team fight. We are 27 minutes in. And it really could go anyway. But with Kraken on the fold, Infamous are really going to need to do something here. Either going to have to steal this one or kind of go for the kills if they're looking for it. We see them weighing around in the bush.
I mean, this late into the game, the single mistake can be capitalized on, and it will prove to be, deadly if Infamous could actually capitalize on everything.
Well, SNK gets pushed off, actually wanting to go in with the Merciless Pursuit, but you see the rest of Infamous backing off. This is kind of a playstyle they've been doing for most of the game, playing a bit passive, wouldn't you say, a bit defensive. But I understand going up against Impunity, who's so strong right now. You really need to be cautious about this. And as you said, the single mistake can really spell the end of this game, as we're reaching the 30-minute mark. And whoever takes Kraken is definitely going to take the win, or whoever takes the ace. But we'll have to see how it plays out, because both these teams just so good. And it really could go to that next matchup. If Impunity are able to win this, we might see the best of 3. There's death from above used, but it doesn't matter too much. It's going to be up in another 9 seconds, and without Infamous really being aggressive right now, it's going to leave a window for Impunity to start this Kraken. But Kirchhoff needs to be careful. He's taking quite a bit of damage there. There's the Gauntlet going down, an amazing Gauntlet at that as well, and it's keeping the enemy team away from that Kraken. But now they didn't continue with it. I think Kirchhoff's tanking just a bit too much, and it's going to be Infamous trying to go for the steal. Who's going to get it? And then we see DefQ going in, but it's going to be Uni with the take onto the Kraken. And now what's going to happen? Are they going to go for the team fire? They're going to just try burn down this Kraken because Kirchhoff's is low. There's the death from above. What can they do? This is maybe a turnaround for Infamous. To a point.
Minions OP!
What? Minions? Minions? No one said minions. Minions already breaking the base of Infamous, and that made Spaghetti have to go back to base, but it doesn't matter because you need an SNK able to find the kill onto Glaive, and this could be Infamous turning this around because 50 seconds left on Kirchhoff's, but DefQ, luckily with so much damage right now, might be able to pull this one off, maybe saving one turret at least, I believe, but there's a blast tremor, a bit of a silence onto Quartervore, but look how quickly Infamous are taking this, and this is really what it came down to at the end. Now that the full team of Infamous is here with a Kraken pushing into the base of DefQ, into the base of Impunity, DefQ having to really be that sole damage dealer to take down this Kraken, but it's not enough. He has damage, but is it going to be enough? Uni gets so low, doesn't get taken down though, and there's the turret, there's the Kraken, there's the Crystal, the double kill, but it's not enough. The triple kill, not enough because the Crystal's going to fall. And that steal by Uni basically being the kind of deal breaker for that. And Impunity played that one so well. They were so close to bringing this into a best of 3, but instead Infamous going to win out the second game as well. Played exquisitely by both teams. GG, well played.